I want to start off by saying, Call Halayim La. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rachach double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who still rule and teach well in sound doctrine. Peace, blessings, and safety to the Lord's elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the planet Earth, pushing this word, humility, and sincerity, as commanded by Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. It says Brazil and China strike trade deal agreement to ditch U.S. dollar. China overtook the United States as Brazil's top trading partner in 2009. Now, this article is from foxbusiness.com. You see, it's being reported since last night or yesterday that China and Brazil have just struck a deal to do trade in their own currencies without the U.S. dollar. This is major news because these are two major economies on the planet Earth. Brazil is probably the second largest country in the Eastern Hemisphere. And China is arguably the largest and most influential in the Western Hemisphere, or in the Eastern Hemisphere, so like Brazil being in the Western Hemisphere. So these are two major players on a global scale, and they're no longer using the dollar. So you can expect the value of the dollar to decrease even more, if not crash. We're looking for the crash right now. We're looking for the complete and total collapse of the dollar because that's the plan anyway. That's their plan anyway. It said that he had two horns like a lamb, but he spake as a dragon. So you may think that certain things are not a part of their plan, but they are, because it's leading you to something else. So this is definitely big news. Okay? This is definitely big news, and these nations, they're no longer invested, in America. This is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 6. It says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense." You see? So the Lord is saying, flee out of the midst of Babylon. That's what we're spiritually doing. We're spiritually fleeing this place by cleaving unto the word of Yahweh Shai and our heritage, which mentally that puts us far away from America. Mentally, that's what it means to flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. How do you deliver your soul? By repentance, through repentance and faith in Yahweh Shai. It says, "Be not cut off in her iniquity," because America is going to be cut off because of the sins of this place. It says, "For this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense." Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. You see, and now these nations, after drinking of the wine of Babylon, they no longer like the taste. And now they want to do their own thing. It's Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. Revelation 18, verse 3. It says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." And what is her fornication? These nations being in bed and doing business with America. That deceitful, slimy, crooked businessman that America is. They've all committed fornication with this crooked, slimy whore. Revelation 18:3, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her." Right, these nations, they're not guiltless. These nations are guilty with America. But now, toward the end of the story, the Lord had it playing out in his will that these nations, who was once submissive to America, are now going to rise up against her. First, economically, and that's going to cause America to go to wage war against China. and you're looking at the beginning stages of World War III. You're looking at the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble. You're looking at the beginning stages of the beginning of sorrows. Because once this dollar goes down, that's it. It's going to be a snowball effect from there. Habakkuk 2, verse 6, it says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long?" Right. Because it says, "And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay." When you go to that word thick clay here in Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 6, in the Hebrew, the word is ibad, which means debt. Okay, debt. And see, these nations, they have this art against Esau, because Esau, he constantly increases that which is not his through debt, through credit. He acquires things through credit. Things that he acquires things, but he doesn't actually own them yet because he hasn't actually paid for it yet. You see? And that's a scam. Habakkuk 2, I'm going to start at verse 5 now. It says, "Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine." Once again, the wine is the philosophies. You see, this is a result of the nations sobering up. This is a result of the nations sobering up by saying, man, fuck this dollar, man. What are we doing? We're wasting time. We're cutting our own ass short. When we could be getting more out of this if we were using our own currency. Habakkuk 2 verse 5, it says, "Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a proverb, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long?" So how long is the Lord going to allow you to, pretty much rob the inhabitants of the earth for everything, man? Starting with the Israelites first and foremost, because the earth was made for Israel. How long are you going to laden yourself, cover yourself with thick clay, with debt? You got a debt-based, credit-based system. How long are you going to do that? You think the Lord's going to allow you to cover yourself with debt forever? No. Eventually, the debt has to be paid. And see, the American citizens, they're used as collateral for Esau to get more loans. For Esau to get more lines of credit. Through what? Through Social Security number and through the pretty much the presence of citizens shows the Federal Reserve Bank or the IMF or the WEF, whoever America owes, whether it be the Rothschilds, Rockefeller, who knows who's really, you know what I'm saying? But we know one thing is that, America is not the top. There's something that's over America that America's answering to, that they get their that they have to answer to and report to. So the Lord is not going to allow this debt to just continue to rise. Eventually, that bubble's going to pop. Habakkuk 2 and 7, it says, "Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake, and that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them?" Right, meaning they're going to take your spoils. You see, and a part of them taking your spoils is through the collapse of your dollar. Because when your dollar collapses, you're going to relinquish a lot of goods. A lot of goods are going to be relinquished. A lot of things are going to be foreclosed, going to be handed back over to, this shit's going to get defaulted, and these nations is waking up. It says, "Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land of the city, and of all that dwell therein." These nations not going to feel bad when they watch America go into a third world state. They're not going to feel bad. because America has done that to many nations. Push civilized, properly functioning cities and turn them into desolate wastelands. America's done that time and time and time again. Nobody's going to feel bad, okay, for turning this place into a third world country, for sending this place into utter chaos because the currency is no longer valid. Nobody's going to feel bad, man. Nobody's going to feel bad. It says China and Brazil have reportedly struck a deal to ditch the U.S. dollar in favor of their own currencies in trade transactions. The deal announced Wednesday will enable China and Brazil to carry out trade and financial transactions directly, exchanging yuan for reais, or vice versa, rather than first converting their currencies to the U.S. dollar. So this is another situation when China and Brazil comes together, which is, like I said, two of the biggest economies in the world. When they come together and do their business with their two biggest economies in the world, they're no longer going to do it with the U.S. dollar. So you have to, whatever effect that's going to have on the dollar, you got to anticipate that. And it could be catastrophic. Remember the South African president of South Africa, I believe it was it South Africa, Nigeria? No, Kenya. The president of Kenya. He's a Jake Israelite. He mentioned in a recent speech, maybe at the top of the week, he said that if you're using U.S. dollars, you need to get rid of it because a new system is about to emerge. That's what the president of Kenya said. Obviously, he had heard something. Obviously, he knows something. And he's telling his citizens to ditch the U.S. dollar. So if there's a spirit all across the world of ditching the United States dollar, which is currently the world reserve currency, but there's a spirit all over the world to ditch it, what's going to be the new world reserve currency? What's coming next? What type of system is coming next? Well, we know that you're going to have the social credit system. That's going to be a part of it, where you're going to get a score. You're going to get a score. See, Esau, with his new system, one major thing that he has to do is he wants to measure obedience. Because with this new system, he wants to be like the Most High. He wants to be a God. And that goes right down to being worshipped. So he has to measure obedience, because the ones that obey more, they pretty much worship him. But the ones that obey less, those are the ones that are more rebellious. So he has this social credit system, and if you don't renew your license, or if you don't stop at the crosswalk, you lose points. Or if you eat too much fast food, you lose points. Or if you get too many tattoos, you lose points. Whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. But the point is that this new system is going to measure the obedience of the people. It's going to measure it's going to measure it's going to give them a score. Salaki, because I was preoccupied. It's going to give them a score based on the things that they do within society. So right now, like, let's say you get a ticket, right? You get a ticket because you ran a stop sign. Okay, you pay the ticket and then it's done. It's off your record and it's done. But with the new system, okay, you ran a stop sign. Instead of paying it off, they could do one of two things. They could take some credits off of your C-hip that they want you to have in your hand or in your forehead, or they could just lower your social credit score. They could just lower your social credit score. So while they don't take money, they lower your score, which is going to affect your overall life within society. And if your score gets so low, like in China, they have the same system, and certain people score get so low that they can't even afford a home. They can't even they aren't even allowed to be eligible for a home, and they become homeless and they become outcasts to society. Why? Because they have less obedience to the system. You see? And so the ones with less obedience to the system, eventually they get phased out and they get cornered and they get narrowed down. And those are going to be the ones that are going to be put under them guillotines for the name of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Now the image of the beast is the Roman system. The Roman system coming back into power 2.0 here with America, NATO, and the EU. That's the image of the beast. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And like I said, they're going to have this social credit system that's going to measure obedience. Okay, it's going to measure whether or not this individual deserves to be killed or deserves to be a participant within a new society. If you don't take the CHIP, if you don't obey, your livelihood is going to be taken away. They're going to cause you to be killed. Eventually, certain men of the elect are going to be beheaded. It says Revelation 13 and 16, and he caused of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So you're going to have the mark. The word mark is charagma. You're going to have the name of the beast and the number of his name. Once you take the mark, you take on his name. That's what the name, it all goes into the mark. As far as the name and the number of the beast, the name and the number of the beast, they all go into the mark, the charagma, the chip. It's all saying the same thing. Because once you take it, now you have this man's name on you. Now you have this man's number on you. Because you're just a number in his system, in his computer. You know? So he says he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. This is why the global economy is shifting. Because he's going to cause all. He's going to cause all. And like I said, these other nations, they're jumping on this. They are jumping. I said it in my video about the Kenya. They're jumping on the opportunity to debase America. Why? Because America has weakened them, has weakened the nations. The nations have drunken up her wine, and therefore the nations are mad. So these nations are jumping at the opportunity to no longer use the U.S. dollar. Expect more countries and more economies to do it. It's coming down to the wire. It's coming down to the wire. You know? Verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, which is 666, 666, which in the Greek is chi, psi, stigma. Chi, psi, stigma. Chi, which is 600, sty, which is 60, and stigma, the Greek word stigma means 6, but the Greek word stigma, which is the word for 6, it also means to cut, to brand. When you look at, let me just go to it so I don't. Let's type in stigma. The word stigma means a physical mark, oppressing. It says stigma.
Stigma.
It says a mark of disgrace, right? So it could be like a spiritual mark, a mark of disgrace, okay? Or it could be a physical mark. It says a mark of disgrace associated with particular circumstances, quality, or person. Second definition, it says in Christian tradition, marks corresponding to those left on Yahweh's body by the crucifixion, said to have been impressed by divine favor on the bodies. I don't know what they're talking about there. So you see down here, it says a mark or spot on the skin. It says of the marks corresponding to those left on Yahweh's body by the crucifixion. What type of marks was left on Yahweh's body by the crucifixion. They were physical marks, marks that pressed into the skin. Let me type in stigma. Okay. It's not showing up what I want to see. So this is branding in ancient Rome. Branding in ancient Rome, right? Just want to get 1 point out of this, going into that word stigma. And you could look at this, and when you go to the Blue Letter Bible app, you can go to type in the word marks, and you go to the word marks in the book of Galatians, and you go to that word marks in the Greek, and it's going to show you stigma. And really, I could have went there to prove my point, but here it is. It says, punishment for slaves in Rome was the branding of the slave's forehead with the letters FUR, which derives from the Latin word furre, meaning thief. Tattooing was also another common method of placing a stigma on the individual and claiming their ownership. You see? So once you put that stigma on an individual, you claim their ownership, meaning they take on your name. They're yours now. So the number of the beast and the name of the beast, it all goes with the mark. Once you take the mark, you take all of the rest of those things. You know? It says there was it says tattooing was also another common method of placing a stigma on the individual and claiming their ownership. So that's the number 666. So even when you go into the Greek for 666, that Greek word for six shows that this is a physical thing. You know, shows this is a physical mark being pressed upon the body, like you would brand your slaves. And once you brand your slaves, once you prick them, once you stick them, once you give them that mark, they become yours, okay? And that's what Esau wants for the nation of Israel. He wants the nation of Israel to become his so that we are disqualified from being Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai's, so that when the Messiah sends his son, hopefully Esau wants to be in a position where the majority of the planet Earth, if not all the planet Earth, has taken a chip. That's his wish, which ain't gonna happen because that's not in the scriptures. He's gonna chip majority of people, but he's not gonna chip all. But that's the type. That's what he wants. He wants, you know, him to chip everybody. So if the Lord come back to the planet Earth, he gonna see everybody chipped and not want to pick nobody up. But it's not written like that, man. It's not written like that. The elect gonna be picked up. They're gonna get saved up out of this place. You know. As a matter of fact, I was gonna go to that word marks. Galatians 6:17. From henceforth let no man trouble me, for I bear in my body the marks of the Lord Yahweh Shai. So Paul said he bear in his body the marks of the Lord Yahweh Shai, which go back to what we just read on Google about the definition of stigma, dealing with the corresponding marks that was on Yahweh Shai's body. The Apostle Paul said he took similar beatings and took similar marks upon his body, physical. Now, if you go to the word marks, and the reason why this is relevant is because the Greek word for stigma, or six, in the 603 score six, the Greek word for six is stigma. So you see here for the word for marks, same thing, stigma.
Strong's G 4742, stigma. Stigma.
It says it comes from the Greek word stizo, which means to stick, i.e. prick, a mark pricked in or branded upon the body. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name, right, the name of the beast, or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belong to. So this was general for slaves and soldiers, that they would bore the name or prick or cut into the body the name of their master or their general. It says, and there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the token of their gods. So this is also used as a form of idolatry, a form of worship of false gods. And Esau is putting himself in the form of that false god. These people are going to worship him through his stigma, through his physical mark upon the body for his slaves. So Chi, Psi, stigma, the word stigma for 666, the word 666 goes into a physical prick on the body for slaves. That's what's coming next. That's what's coming down the pike as a result of these countries moving away from America, Babylon the Great. You know, so keep your eyes open. We're almost home. I want to say, call Allah Imla, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rachach, Wadash. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, the Wadi Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, for giving me the spirit to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who still rule and teach well. And peace and blessings to the Lord's elect. Kwame Asherala, Shalom, Abad, Babal.